final integrative assignment. Yay, it's getting close to the end, and I hope you're getting excited. Final integrative assignment is basically the compilation of your integrative reflections that you've done, but they won't all be in there. Especially, I think it's discernment. I think maybe there's one other, I can't remember off the top of my head, sorry, that you'll have to do outside of your course reflections. Discernment, there was just really no reason to have you do it because you're doing it for your final paper, and then if you're doing the same thing twice, you might as well just put it in your final paper and turn the whole thing in. This will be due end of week 10. So basically, it's an integration paper, again, reflects theologically. You're working your way through the practical theology model. So the part 1 basically names and guides your way through each of the practices that we'll be talking about in the course. And there's, 6 of them: listening, guidance, lament, discernment, stewardship, rhythms of rest. So for that section, you can go back and look at the integrated reflections piece if you need an explanation on that. Part 2 of it is the central integration question. So from your spiritual autobiography, at the end of it, you did a central integration question, and you've talked about it a couple of times now in your vocation and formation groups. So what you're going to do is talk about, in light of what you've just done, part 1, how that has helped shape your central integrative question, and then you're going to write out the central integrative question. So it's about 200 words of a transition, where literally you say, in light of that, here's how this shaped what's coming up, and then you're going to write out your edited version of the CIQ that you've been developing over the 10 weeks of the quarter. And then part 3 is the rule of life. So in each of the practices, you've come up with some suggested practices or ideas, experiments you could try out. And this, for you, is now a concrete, practical plan. So pick 1 or 2 of those, no more than 2, unless you're really eager and you want to go out and do more. But 1 or 2 practices that you've suggested as a potential experiment in part 1, and then build on it. So what would it look like to practice this out in the next quarter? So that's it. Part 1, the practices. Part 2 is your central integrative question, how part 1 has informed that, and then what it actually is. And then part 3 is, in light of all of this, here's what I'm going to integrate into my spiritual practices, my rule of life, my way of living life, into the next quarter. We'll also have, for both the CIQ and the rule of life, you'll have throughout the quarter opportunities to learn how to develop those and really thicken them in your own life, in your own mind's eye. So it's not something you would necessarily know how to do just yet, especially early on in the quarter, but something that you'll be developing over the next 10 weeks. And then you're going to bring all of these together into one assignment. I'm seeing people running, by the time they've got the whole thing together, some are as few as 11 or 12 pages, and if you're right to the point, well integrated, and you're not spending a lot of time pulling quotes in from outside sources, but just referring to them, you can do it really well in 11 pages. Many are running about 18 to 20 by the time it's all accumulated together, and that's probably what you're looking at ultimately at the end. So, all right, this is worth 20%, so it's a significant weight to the whole class, and it's due, I believe, at the end of the quarter, week 10. There's a grading rubric associated with that. You'll see that it's 4 pieces, and how that grading rubric works, and all of them really is they're based on the learning outcomes of the course. And so it's basically to what degree have you been able to demonstrate, at a minimum is the benchmark that you demonstrated that you met that outcome. And then it works its way out from, fully capable, that's 80%, means you can do this, you're fully capable. 9 is well developed. That's a really good job. And it's really well thought through integratively, culturally, and its application. Outstanding is like, wow, I was amazed as I was reading through this thing. And outstanding, of course, is perfect. So if you want to aim for that, you're certainly welcome to. But because of this course is so high on participation and activity, and this relatively is only worth a fifth of your grade, a lot of these won't be running 100%. You're going to be really a lot of 9s and that kind of thing. for most people 9s and some 10s. So work hard on these. You want these to be very reflective of the work you've done, the reading that you've accomplished, what you've learned and grown from during the quarter, and a real solid expression of your journey to date. So that's an important piece. Don't let it go till the very end. If you're building this the entire quarter through your integrated reflections, you'll basically just be assembling this in weeks 9 and 10 and turning it in at the end of week 10. All right? If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Keep saying it, but it's so very important. Don't let these things fall behind on you. Ask, and I will help and give guidance where I possibly can.